This episode of the Concierge CPA is sponsored by Business Benefits Consultants. David Padell, the CEO and founder, is very close to us at TaxPlanIQ and the Jackie Meyer group of organizations. When I had my own CPA firm, he guided us through so many questions and concerns and issues that we had as we were exposing our clients to defined benefit plans, which are like defined contribution plans on crack. So if you want a 401k, but you want to be able to put hundreds of thousands of dollars into it for a high net worth taxpayer, a defined benefit plan is the way to go. And it's really, really tax beneficial. So reach out to David and his team at Business Benefits Consultants today. Welcome to the Concierge CPA. I'm Jackie Meyer, founder of the Concierge Accountant Program and TaxPlanIQ software. This is a podcast for accounting firm owners and influencers who are pursuing world-class service. We discuss their path to excellence, their daily habits, and what influences them and their work. We believe that every person has a unique message that can positively impact the world. Stick around till the end of the show. We'll reveal how you can be our next guest. Let's go, y'all. Welcome to the Concierge CPA. I'm Jackie Meyer, the Concierge CPA, and I have Naomi Granger with me as our special guest today. She has got a lot going on, and I'm excited to get to know her. She was referred to me from a dear friend, and let's just get right into it. So, Naomi, welcome. Thank you for being here. You're the founder of, let me not butcher the name, the National Association of Cannabis Accounting and Tax Professionals. You're a CPA. Okay, yes, I got it. All right. You're a CPA turned, advocate in this area. You're an educator. You have training programs going on. So tell everybody a bit about you and welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much. So happy to be here. Yes, my background is accounting. I've been an accountant and a CPA for the last 18 years. I've worked with public accounting firms. I've worked with 3 of the 4. So I've been at PwC, Deloitte, and Ernst Young.
Oh, you poor thing.
Yes, I definitely earned my stripes. I've also worked in corporate accounting. And then I decided that I wanted to be an entrepreneur. I did not want to be in anybody's office or cubicle, and decided to figure out how can I do things on my own. So originally, I had no concept of being a remote accountant. So I thought I needed to just learn a new skill set. So I went out and I learned how to build websites and do different things like that. And then I started getting some online training and education programs out there about remote accounting practices. So I dove straight in and I was like, I don't have to learn a new skill set. I can do accounting in my sleep.
Yeah.
And as I was doing that training, I learned that you need to really find a niche and become an expert in a niche in order to really scale your accounting practice.
For sure.
And that's where I landed on cannabis accounting back in 2017.
Okay. And what landed you there in particular? Did you have a couple of clients like that and you're like, you know what? I see this is going to be a big industry. This is a lot of fun. What were your thoughts there?
No, yeah. So a couple of people were discussing the cannabis industry. And then I was in the state of Nevada at that time, and we had just passed our adult use regulations. They passed them in 2016 and they started legal sales in 2017. So it was brand new in Nevada. And then California was in the process of passing their adult use regulations in 2018. And so I was seeing the trend, and back then there were only 8 states in the entire country that had adult use regulations. Now we have upwards of 24 states.
Wow.
So it's just grown so much over that time, but I could see the trajectory. I could see where it was going. And so then I realized as I started working with clients, I started networking and finding mentors and getting my own education and training. And then as I started working with clients, I realized how underserved they were. And then I also realized that there was a huge need for more education and training in this industry, because as a CPA, your client just expects for you to just automatically know everything. And I found that, oh my gosh, I felt, at first I felt like a fraud. I felt like an imposter, like, surely I should know this stuff. But then I realized, you know what? Nobody knows this stuff.
Right.
This industry is brand new. The rules are still being written. The regulators don't know. The IRS doesn't know. Attorneys don't know. So why am I beating myself up? And then that's when I found that there was a need to provide that education and training to other accountants because they probably feel the same as I do.
Yeah. So you're an innovator. That's awesome. I love it. Do you find that there's still a stigma around cannabis? And I know we'll get into a little bit more other psychedelics that are coming quickly and fast and hard, probably a lot quicker than cannabis did actually for mental health and whatnot. Do you think that there's still quite a stigma around those things?
I don't see it as much, but I think because it's my entire world, so everybody I associate with,
Yeah.
they're down for it. But I did notice it. So when I first started in 2017, and I still come across people that I have come across years ago. They're like, "Oh, I've been following it for so many years." And I've had people come to me, especially as accountants, because we're conservative by nature.
Mhm.
And so as accountants, they'll come to me and they say, I was totally anti-legalization. I didn't want anything to do with it. My buddies were saying you should try it. I was totally against it. And then my spouse was diagnosed with cancer. And this
Oh,
is the only thing that's providing them with relief.
wow.
And so that was a true story. So I'm noticing people who are, there's this war on drugs and this propaganda, and people think they knew everything about the story, and now they're realizing that there's parts of the story that they didn't know, and they're questioning, their thoughts and their beliefs, and they're coming back to me years down the line saying, "Hey, I want to try it. I want to get into this industry now."
Yeah, that's amazing. And wow, I love that story. It's so impactful. It really makes you open your eyes and try to think about the different perspectives involved versus being really judgmental or black and white about things, which is easy for us to do as accountants, right?
Yes.
Okay, awesome. And what is the latest and greatest with tax law when it comes to the industry? I know that, the last thing I saw a few years ago was certain deductions are not allowed, that kind of thing. Give us a quick elevator pitch of what's going on.
Okay, I'll try to be as quick as possible, but it's a lot. So, cannabis is governed under IRC Section 280E. That's the tax code. That's a federal tax code. It's one sentence, but it states that if you are trafficking a controlled substance within the definition of Schedule 1 or Schedule 2, then you are not eligible to take any operating expense deductions. And so cannabis is still sitting at Schedule 1, which the whole Controlled Substances Act, and that's a whole nother webinar on its own. But that's the most restrictive schedule you can be, meaning that there's no known medical benefit, and it's highly addictive. And that's how you land in Schedule 1.
Wow.
And then, yes. And so then you move down the Schedule 2, that's where you see fentanyl and stuff like that. And that's less restrictive than Schedule 1.
Oh,
Which,
no, that's crazy.
right. So as a country, we're realizing, this is obviously incorrect. And even the President Biden came out and made a public announcement that said the scheduling is wrong for cannabis back in October of 2022.
Okay.
He challenged the Health and Human Services Administration to reevaluate the scheduling of cannabis. And so they've come back at the end of 2023, and they're recommending that cannabis be moved to Schedule 3, which takes them out of the Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 for 280E. But they made this recommendation, but we still have to wait for the DEA to approve it.
Okay.
And so that's kind of where we are now. So we're thinking at this, I keep hearing, at the end of this month, at the end of this month.
Mhm.
And this has been since August of last year. So
Pretty much, normal government stuff, right?
right.
Yeah.
But if that were to happen, we don't even know what the industry is going to look like after that. Because if you think about it, the scheduling, all of the drugs, if you were to look into the Controlled Substances Act and look into the 5 schedules, every single drug on that requires a prescription. And cannabis is the only drug that has an adult use application. And so we don't really know how is that going to look on Schedule 3 when you can just walk, you don't need a prescription. Like, are they going to
Yeah.
turn it into a pharmaceutical? Is it going to completely overhaul the existing industry that we currently have? Are they going to make special circumstances? Like, we have no idea what it's going to look like after that.
Yeah. And would this be retroactive, like to the beginning of 2023 per se, or would it be for 2024 forward? Or, what's the vibe around that?
So yeah, that's another thing that we don't know. We don't know what the effective date will be once they finally decide to approve this. So it could be, from 2023 forward. It could be. We would love for it to be from the beginning of your legal operations, which
Yeah,
would help.
really. That would be
But
crazy, though.
we doubt that would ever happen. But it
Yeah.
could be effective immediately. So if they pass it today, April 1st going forward. So then we have to do like a weird split year
Mhm.
calculation. Or it could be effective sometime in the future, effective January 1, 2025, depending on when they decide to finally move it forward.
Okay, that's awesome. Okay, so tell me a little bit more about how you move from practicing CPA, which do you still practice or okay, awesome. So you're still in practice and then you formed this foundation and now, what all are you doing? Like tell people why they should get involved in this.
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, I am still a CPA, still licensed CPA, and I have my book of business, my clients that I work with. I feel like that's very important because if I'm not working with clients, and this industry is constantly changing like every single day. So if I'm not working with clients, how am I going to know what's going on and what they need besides, reading the news and things like that?
Mhm.
But then as I was working with clients, I realized I didn't have everything that I needed. I didn't know when my clients came to me and said, "Hey, my bank account was shut down. Can you help me? Hey, my payroll processor dropped me. Hey, my insurance company is not working with me. Hey," they have all these questions. And me as an accountant, I'm not qualified to write insurance for them. But still, as their trusted advisors, a lot of business owners rely on their accountant to have a certain level of access to different resources that they can tap into in order to get things resolved for them. And I didn't have any of that. And so that's when I thought about, hey, I should start this association. And what I do is I go out and I find all of those resources and then I interview them. And we have webinars every single month. And so I'll talk to the attorneys who are currently fighting tax court cases for cannabis operators to help me understand what are the issues, what are you guys getting past, what things don't make it to court, what things are settled outside of court that maybe our clients can benefit from,
Mhm.
and just having a better understanding. I talk to the insurance providers and I ask them, what do we need to have in place from a financial perspective in order to ensure that when our clients do get in trouble and need to file for insurance, that those are going to get paid.
Mhm.
What do we have? How do we get our ducks in a row? So just helping us as the association better understand how to better serve our clients and have them in the best position when it comes to all these different financial issues that they're going to be faced with.
Mhm. Okay. And what year did you start this and how many members do you have now?
Yeah, so I started it back in 2021 and I have over 200 members now. And the way
Awesome.
that the association is organized is I have all the members are divided into committees. And I feel like us dividing and conquering is the best way. So it's a national association. We have members from all over the country. And it's not possible. And that's the whole reason why I started it. It's not possible for one person to know everything that you're possibly going to need to know,
Mhm.
especially in this industry that's just being developed. So I originally started bringing in experts that are practicing in different areas that I might not have visibility to and kind of helping us understand what's going on. But now the association, we have committees that are based in regions. So Northeast, Southeast, Midwest, all these different regions. And the purpose of the regional committees is to be on top of what's going on with the rules and regulations within that region and bringing that to the whole and helping us better understand, okay, they just passed this social equity bill and it's not working out, and this operator's having problems here. Like, just helping us understand better what's happening in that region and how it's impacting the industry. And then on top of having regional committees, we have members who are in the psychedelics industry. Psychedelics is also an emerging market, and it's similar. The accounting and financing for psychedelic industries is pretty similar. The business model is totally different, but it's similar to cannabis. So it's important for us to stay on top of those things and also help those clients.
Are those Schedule 1 activities or are those Schedule 2 activities?
So the psychedelics, I believe it's Schedule 1.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, I hadn't heard it referred to that before. So that's just, me not knowing, staying on top of it. But yeah, it's interesting to see how that'll come together.
So the thing that you need to understand the difference is Schedule 1 specifically relates to trafficking a controlled substances. So that means actually selling an item that falls on Schedule 1. Now, when you're looking at the psychedelics industry, it's a little bit different. And if you've ever dabbled in or experimented with any of the psychedelics, you'll know that it's not something that you do every single day like you would with cannabis. So cannabis is more of a volume based. You go to a dispensary, you buy your medicine for the month. Psychedelics is more of an experience. You have a facilitator who's taking you into this experience and taking you out of this experience. And so the actual medicine itself is minuscule to the cost of the services.
And the business operations are totally different because it's more this like kind of retreat thing versus, a day in, day out transactions, right? Okay.
Yeah. And so those services are legal. Those services don't fall into ADE. So it's a totally different type of business model. You have to understand the differences.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. So before we started this podcast, I told you had to meet my two friends that are really big in the psychedelic space. And that's Amber Setter and then Scotty Scarano. So I'm going to definitely make sure that you get introduced to them. But if people are more interested in the psychedelic space, I know Scotty just went through his own ayahuasca retreat in Costa Rica, and he was very vulnerable and open and transparent about the experience. I've been reading a ton about the mental health benefits of these psychedelics, and it's really exciting to see what might be able to be done in such a short time period compared to the decades, hundreds of years that we've been going through, like depression, major depression disorder, and anxiety, and things like that, and the way that it's going to impact. So it's really, really cool.
I actually had my own psychedelic experience as well. I went to Peru for 14 days and did an ayahuasca retreat. And it was, yeah.
Did you have a lot of ups and downs, or was it pretty pleasant?
What was that? That was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Not just the medicine and the revelations and all the stuff that came to me, but the experience in itself, like going into the Amazon jungle and walking on the dirt. I had to take buses and boats and planes and trains just to get there. It was sweaty. It was hot. There was no running water. There was no electricity.
Wow.
I was there for 14 days getting sick every day because you take the medicine and it makes you purge. So you're getting sick every day. And then getting all these people coming to me and revelations and spirits and all this stuff and realizing what's wrong with me and what I need to do next and all this. It was really, really tough. I don't think I would ever do it again, but
Really?
I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to do it.
Okay. Was there a particular revelation that you had that you're like, that you don't think you would have had without that experience, though?
I think it just makes you clear. Like we already know things.
Mm-hmm.
We already know what our purpose is and our passion and all those things. But a lot of times we don't have clarity on how to execute it. And so I feel like it gave me more of a step-by-step, hey, this is what's next for you. This is what you need to do. It also helped me talk, like I asked it about people, that we call her Mother Aya. And I asked her about people in my life. It told me who I can trust, who I can't trust,
Wow.
why they're in my life, and what purpose they serve in my life, different things like that. And so a lot of this stuff was personal. Of course, I asked about relationships and kids and things like that, and ancestors. So it kind of just gives you a little bit more clarity on some of the maybe questions you may have about things that are happening in your life in your future.
Okay. Yeah. I remember Amber Sutter was saying that she saw herself speaking on stage to accountants about mental health. She comes from a pretty broken family structure which she'll admit. But and then she was there, within a year, she was on that stage as if it was like a premonition, which is pretty crazy.
Right, yeah, it told me that too. It told me that I will be speaking on stages and I have one message, and that one message is going to touch everybody differently.
Wow.
So somehow I have this magical message that will impact everybody the way that it's supposed to impact them.
Yeah, that's so cool. Well, speaking of
Yeah.
conferences, I know we both will be speaking at Scaling New Heights this summer, which is really exciting. Tell us what you're speaking on.
Yeah, so we're speaking at Scaling New Heights to accounting firms to help them better understand if cannabis is a niche opportunity for them, like helping them understand what it takes to get into this industry and if it's something that they should pursue.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to meeting you in person. You seem really cool. I would love to be your new BFF. But yeah,
Absolutely.
but you mentioned that you have some lobbying that's coming up. How does that work in your industry, and what all is involved with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So prior to entering the cannabis industry, I was totally anti-political. Like, I understand how important it is to be involved in politics, but it just wasn't a battle that I wanted to fight. I
Sure.
just didn't
Yeah, a lot of
understand it
people feel
enough.
like that. Yeah.
Yeah, like I wasn't. I felt like it was a full-time job to do the proper amount of research that was necessary in order to fight politics.
hmm
So I did my voting, and then I stayed as far. I didn't talk about politics to people. It was just I stayed away. That after I entered the cannabis industry, I realized this industry is still being regulated. Like rules have not even been written. And we have a very unique opportunity to effect change in this country with an industry that's large enough to actually effect change in this country, social equity in this country, so much that this industry, it's about, I think the last number I heard was 40 billion. It's supposed to be 50 billion by 2025
Wow.
dollar industry. So that brings a lot of tax revenue. That brings a lot of resources. It's the highest employer in the country right now. And so it's bringing a lot of money into the country. And to be able to go there and talk to these regulators, because you have regulators who are making rules, but they're not operators. So there's no way that they can know how these rules are going to impact the people that they're writing them for.
Sure.
And so to be able to be in the room, sit at the table, speak to our representatives and tell them, hey, this is exactly what's going on. Here's the bill that's on the table. Here are the pros and the cons to that bill. This is the direction that we would need you to vote. And that's what you can do as a lobbyist. I never knew prior to the first time I did lobby days that we had that power as people, as constituents. I just thought our power extended to voting, and that was it. And if our person didn't make it into office, then we were just out of luck. But with lobbying, it opens up a whole new aspect. Not only if you vote and your person doesn't make it into office, whoever is sitting in that office, that's who you talk to, and you say, hey, I mean, you may not feel the same way about what I have going on, but you have to sit and listen to me. And that's what our representatives, they have to give us time, and they have to sit and listen to us. So that's a little bit above and beyond just voting, to get in there and tell them these are the issues. And also, if you think about it, these regulators have millions of issues that they have to think about and consider. It's impossible for them to know the pros and cons and pluses and minuses to every single issue that's out there in this country. And so if you give them the cheat sheet and you are sitting there and you talk to them and you help them better understand, hey, I've done all the research. Here's a one pager, pros and cons, that makes it, gives you a better leg up on them swinging to your direction when they're voting for your bills and the things that you're passionate about.
Okay, yeah. So self-admittedly, I know nothing about lobbying. I did go to DC, and I was able, when I was an Intuit Tax Council, they got us kind of in front of legislators to talk about issues. It was right before during TCJA, which was really interesting. But
Mm.
how does someone get involved in this? How did you get involved in it?
So yeah, I got involved in it because I am the treasurer of the NCIA, which is the National Cannabis Industry Association. It's one of the longest running cannabis professional associations in the country,
Okay.
and they do annual lobby days every single year. And so I just went to support last year because I was a member. I was on the board, and so I felt like, oh yeah, I have to do this. So I went, and my mind was completely blown. So when you go to these offices, when you walk through the Capitol, just about every single door says, welcome, come walk right in. Like they have an open door policy, which I just would have assumed that there would have been, metal detectors and all types of things, and you couldn't get in, you couldn't talk to them, but they have a completely open door policy. It's a lot easier if you schedule a meeting. And so what we do at the NCIA, and it's open to the public. So these lobby days, which we will be going back in May, on May 14th through the 16th. So if anybody is interested in going, you can register. Cool. And but what we do is, as an organization, we break up all the people who have registered into teams of like 3 to 5 people. And then we schedule meetings with all the regulators, 15-minute meetings, 15 to 30-minute meetings. And so then our teams are assigned, hey, you're going to go speak to the state of Washington, you're going to go speak to the state of Alabama, and you're going to go speak to the state of Tennessee. And so then everybody disperses, and we go out, and like the army, we go and we knock on the doors at our time, and we sit and we get to talk to the regulators. Now, a lot of times you're probably talking to their admin, because they're busy, they're working. They may be there might be a bill on the line that they're voting for, and they may be in a vote, or different things. But we did also get to speak to some of the regulators who were available. And they have to sit there. We get 15 minutes. We get to talk to them. We give them one-sheeters that kind of summarizes our talk. They typically take notes during that talk as well. And a lot of times, it really felt good, because a lot of times they're like, I had no clue that this was going on. Wow. I had no idea that this was the issue. Yeah. So it's like, we can't assume just because they're in that position that they just know everything, every issue in this country.
Mm-hmm. Okay, this is a little bit off topic, but something that's been in my mind a lot, and I think you could add a lot of really great insight. So first of all, you're obviously big on educating others around, these topics. I've been thinking so much about, how do we save our industry, right? With all the people not wanting to come into it. And to me, I really feel like the answer is getting more higher level curriculum like this, or tax planning and advisory services, into higher education, so that we can expose kids in college to this interesting stuff versus all the boring, senile things that AI is probably going to end up doing in the next several years anyways. Have you ever looked into or worked with any kind of society that's been trying to work with colleges? Because I don't even know where to start to think about that. So I'm curious if that's something you've done.
Yeah, so I've actually tried working with my college. Okay. And I've been in talks with them. There's just so some of the colleges they just have to get approval because it's still federally illegal.
Okay.
So it just depends on how open they are to letting us in. But I feel like there does need to be a bigger message, and colleges need to understand that, it's not going anywhere. Mm-hmm. It was already here before they legalized it. And this is a wave that if you miss it and you're like, let me just wait 10 years, 20 years, when it becomes federally legal, you're going to be way behind.
Right.
And you're doing a disservice to your students for not being able to get on it sooner. So Yeah, there are a couple of organizations that I do know out there that have, but none of them are on the accounting side. A lot of them are on the growing, maybe the business side of it, but understanding the chemical parts of it. But yeah, very little on the accounting and tax. And I really feel like, because I was starting to lose my zest for accounting as well before I went into this. And it wasn't until I learned about the social equity aspect of the industry that really made me so passionate about the industry. And I feel like as a people, we want more. I mean, money is important for us to live, but we're always looking for a bigger purpose. And helping people understand that portion may help people get excited about the industry as well.
For sure, for sure. Yeah. So I have this tax advisory software for accountants called TaxPlanIQ, and we don't have cannabis listed as a strategy per se. We have about 120 strategies in the library. But what I'd love to work with you on is kind of putting some tips and tricks together around it, and then making your organization a recommended kind of resource for accountants to go to, if you don't mind. I think that would be really cool.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool. One thing that is really deregulated, and I don't really understand why, is just tax planning in general. Like, on one hand, we don't want the government down our throats around it, right? But on the other hand, the AICPA doesn't even have a true definition of a tax planner, and you don't even have to be credentialed to be a tax planner. And so to me, if advisory is really the future of our profession, I see these orgs needing to move towards some regulation around the definition of it, and then certifications around it. Do you agree with that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I do have a certification in the cannabis industry for accounting, just to help accounting professionals have the base knowledge that they need in order to get into this industry. And the association, it's certified by the National Association of Cannabis Accounting and Tax Professionals. But I feel like I don't know what they're going to do with the tax planning side. Mine is more for accounting and bookkeeping. My background, admittedly, I hate taxes, which I don't like doing. So I don't do
guess
anything
what?
with
I
taxes.
hate taxes too, but I love manipulating the tax code for the legal benefit of my clients, right?
Right.
That's the fun part, right? Nobody likes taxes.
Right.
But yeah, there's definitely I think two sides to the equation in the cannabis industry of the kind of tax benefits and how that will expand as you see them changing the laws, hopefully any month now, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, that'd be
It's
interesting.
important that they understand. I mean, tax planning is so important because everybody, when they think about taxes, the only thing they think about is IRS. However, with the cannabis industry, I mean, they do also think about state, but that's far, far away. I live in Nevada, so I don't have to worry about state taxes. But cannabis has federal IRS taxes, they have state taxes, but then they also have excise taxes. They have marijuana retail taxes, they have the cultivation taxes, they have sales tax, they have payroll tax, unemployment taxes. There's so many taxes to where when you look at it all, it's about 100% that they're paying in taxes alone.
I kind of look at that and think about the P&L, and I'm like, how are these businesses even profitable? But I guess it's got to be the volume, I guess, high volume.
So a lot of them are just break even. I mean, some of them may be profitable. It just depends. They have to be highly capitalized and they have to understand that they're playing the long game. So right now, under heavy regulations, it's difficult it's not a gold mine. It's not, you're not hitting the jackpot just because you got a cannabis license. It's a lot of work.
Okay. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. So I appreciate you kind of confirming that. Now, I love to ask all my guests kind of what a favorite book or a podcast or TED Talk or whatever that really inspired you in life, one that you could share with our audience. Is there a particular one that comes to mind for you?
There's a bunch of them. I guess if you go to Inspired Me in Life, I have to go back to the 4 Hour Work Week.
Oh, that's my
By
favorite
Tim.
one too. Yay.
Yeah, so I read
Yeah.
that while I was working in corporate accounting at the Home Depot headquarters in Atlanta, and planned my escape ever since I read that book.
I love that. Yeah. So I was trying to remember when I read it because I recommend it so often and I reference back to it. So that's Tim Ferriss, by the way, for the audience, but y'all have heard me talk about this book a ton. It is like my number one as well. I know he's considered rewriting it or revamping it because there's some things that are a bit outdated. I mean, it's been probably 20 years now, I think. Um,
Yeah, I think it was
but
like 2009.
it's hard to I think maybe redo it because all the core concepts are still the same.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I was probably working at Countrywide in a corporate environment at the time too. And so yeah, we got that entrepreneurial spirit, like, okay, we got to get out of this.
Yes, yes. And I think so that would be one that inspired me, but I think like one of the most recent ones that I'm reading that I've really honed in on is $100 Million Offers by Alex Hermosi.
Mhm.
Have you read that one?
Yes, that is an amazing book. I realized that I was kind of organically I had my own CPA firm for 12 years that I sold about a year and a half ago to grow this tax software. So, but I realized I was kind of organically like starting to do some of the things he recommended just because it
Yeah.
felt like it felt right, but it wasn't necessarily things that our industry typically did. And so, yeah, I highly recommend his books and his methods. I think he's a really cool guy.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. And it helps you think about how you add value.
Mhm.
And in order to earn income and stuff, you need to understand what's your value proposition. And people won't, you're not going to be, a lot of people are afraid, especially as accountants, when it comes down to the quote and the numbers and things, that's where we kind of get a little hesitant and we undervalue ourselves. And, we cross our fingers and hope people accept our proposal. But I feel like getting confidence in, hey, I can provide tremendous value to your organization, and this is the fee will take you to the next level.
For sure, yeah. I think another thing that he talks about are guarantees, and I think accountants shy away from that because it feels like maybe I don't know why. I think it just feels maybe unethical of them or something, but to me, if you're a good person, you're going to make things right if something gets screwed up and it's your fault, right? And so I always offered a guarantee. It wasn't around the tax savings, obviously. We can't do that. But the guarantee was just that they'd be satisfied or I'd make it right. And so I highly recommend that other accountants do that as well because it's just something really basic and simple that most consumers are looking for now. And I think it rubs people the wrong way when accountants are like, that's, I don't really want to do something like that. Right.
Yeah, yeah. I also offer guarantees. I feel like there's a way that you can guarantee your services and your work.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Okay. Another question for you. What is something that you feel like you do really well in your work or exceptionally well kind of in your day to day? And can you share that with our audience?
Yeah, so I mean, I get a lot of people. I know I like the training and education aspect of it. I don't do as much accounting work as I do with education. And I'm able to, and I recognize this back when I was in public accounting. I'm able to look at something that's very complex and break it down to something that people can actually manage and do and
I
understand.
love that. Yeah.
And so a lot of people in my programs and my membership say, "Oh my gosh, finally, this makes so much more sense to me. I feel a lot better about going into this engagement." So I think that's where my superpower is.
Yeah, and speaking of training, you have a whole training curriculum, so to speak. Tell us more about that.
Mhm. Yeah, so I have a program called Calculating Cannabis, and it's an 8-week deep dive. And we step by step you through how to land your first cannabis client and serve them with confidence. And
Nice.
so not only do we do the marketing side, I mean, it's not a full-on marketing program, but we teach
Sure.
you how to find these operators, how to present yourself to these operators, how to update your resumes and your profiles and things like that, so that you speak to their pain points, as well as the understanding the state rules and regulations, because a lot of programs out there only teach at the federal level, which is pointless because these are state legal operators, not federally illegal. So you really need to know what's happening at the state level.
Uh-huh.
So we step you through what that means and what's required for you as an accountant, as well as how to onboard these clients. What are your SOPs look like for these clients, your standard operating procedures for cash and inventory, and banking and things like that. And so we step you through everything that you need to know to at least get that one client and start servicing them.
Okay, that's great. And how many people have been through this program so far?
We've had about 150
Awesome.
people have graduated. Yep.
That's amazing. Congratulations. That's really
Thank
exciting.
you.
Um, do you have a favorite productivity hack?
Oh gosh. Well, I like to put on lo-fi music when I'm working. Are you
Really?
familiar
Okay,
with
tell me
lo-fi?
more. I don't know what that means.
So lo-fi, you can just go on YouTube and just type in lo-fi hip hop girl or whatever, and they just stream. They have like a live stream that never stops.
Okay.
But it's unrefined. It was explained to me as unrefined for the radio. So I guess they haven't cleaned it up, whatever that means.
Yeah.
But it's kind of like a jazz, like a hip hop, no words. And it's just like a flow, and it has binaural beats in it. So it helps you just kind of focus.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
So kind of like someone listening like brown noise or pink noise or something like that. It's got that kind of quality to it in a way.
I think so. I haven't really listened to that, but it has like instruments, just no words.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah, I'll have to check that out for sure. All right. So, what's the best way for people to contact you after this if they're interested in getting involved in your training or your organization?
Yeah. Yeah. So on LinkedIn is a good place to find me, Naomi Granger. But you can also shoot me an email, Naomi at, it's the acronym NACATPros.org. So NACATPROS.org. Because at the beginning, when you struggled with the name, it's like such a long name. We break it down to just NACAT Pros now.
Okay.
But yeah, anywhere on social at NACAT Pros, you can find me.
That's great. We'll make sure and put that in the show notes as well, just in case you're driving or didn't catch that. Is there anything else that you would like to share with us today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I would love to, if anybody is interested in this industry, if you just even thought about it, this is it's a great industry to get involved in. It's not too late. We are still federally illegal, state legal. There's only 24 states, so half the country that has adult use regulations. There are so many operators out there who need accountants who understand their industry. You're not going to lose your professional license if you do it. That I get a lot of people think, "Yeah, I'm going to lose my CPA license."
Oh, okay.
As long as the company is not doing anything illegal like any other of your clients. So as long as they're not trafficking other things outside of the marijuana that you know of, you're safe. So yeah, if this is something that interests you, please reach out. There's a lot of fun. We're having a lot of fun in this industry.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Thank you so much for sharing all that with us today. And this sounds like something that, if you're not already, you should be writing a book maybe around everything you know about it. Is that something on your bucket list?
It is something on my bucket list. A book and a TED Talk is just how do you
Love
have
it.
time?
I know. So I actually just finished my last doctorate in leadership class, and my final project is writing a book. So it's all about kind of being a peaceful entrepreneur and things that I've helped coach other accountants around. But really, any white collar worker, I think, can benefit from it. And it's been quite the process. So I would definitely encourage you, if you just feel inspired one day, just start writing,
Okay.
and it tends to just really flow. I think that you would be amazing at that. So I'd love to see something come of it.
Oh, awesome. Thank you. Okay. I'll make sure I put that on my on my list.
Yeah,
higher on my list.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Naomi. Take care of yourself, okay? And we'll see you at
Thank
Scaling
you.
New Heights.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Thank you for listening to the Concierge CPA, hosted by TaxPlanIQ. We believe that every person has a unique message that can positively impact the world. If you are a successful accounting firm owner or influencer who would like to be on this program, please visit JackieMeyerCPA.com, JackieMeyerCPA.com to apply. Please share this on social media and rate us so we can continue our good work. Join our Facebook group called Accounting Firm Influencers, or connect with me on most platforms under Jackie Meyer CPA. Thanks for being accountable to transforming our industry today.